There is something narcissists can sense before you even explain yourself. Not confidence in the loud sense, not status, not force, something quieter, something colder, something they almost never say out loud. They can feel when a person is no longer easy to enter, no longer easy to guilt, no longer easy to confuse, no longer easy to pull into a performance, no longer easy to make doubt themselves. And that's when the energy changes. They get more charming, or colder, or strangely watchful, or suddenly hostile for no clear reason. Because beneath all the masks, what they fear most is not your aggression. It's your inner separation from their control. And before we go further, I want to ask you something early for the comments. Have you ever watched someone get more irritated, manipulative, or cold the calmer and stronger you became? What was the first moment you realized your stability was bothering them? Drop that in the comments, because a lot of people have lived this exact thing and blamed themselves for it. But this dynamic is real. And through a Jungian lens, it makes deep sense, because the narcissistic personality depends heavily on the persona, the mask, the social construction, the image, while disowned shame, weakness, emptiness and fear get pushed into the shadow. And when a strong person enters the room, that hidden material starts moving. So let's talk about what narcissists fear most about strong individuals, because once you see it clearly, you stop mistaking their reaction for your flaw. 1. They fear people who cannot be internally entered. The first thing to understand is this. Narcissists do not mainly want love, they want access. Access to your attention, your emotional climate, your self-image, your guilt, your uncertainty, your need to be understood, your hunger for harmony, your reflex to explain. That is how they enter, not always through force, often through confusion, seduction, moral pressure, victimhood, idealization, subtle destabilization. And strong individuals threaten this from the beginning. Why? Because strong people have interior walls. Not cold walls, not cruel walls, clear walls. They can listen without surrendering. They can care without merging. They can observe without immediately reacting. They can feel pressure without translating it into obedience. That is terrifying to a narcissist. Because if they cannot get inside your emotional system, they cannot rearrange your reality from within. And that is what they are used to doing. They are used to entering your interpretation of events, entering your sense of guilt, entering your identity, entering your doubts, entering your compassion, and turning it into access. But when they meet someone who feels them, and still remains internally separate, something in them tightens. Because now they are dealing with a person who has not left the doors open, and for a narcissist, a person with an intact inner boundary feels almost unnatural. They may call it coldness, distance, ego, arrogance, rigidity. But very often what they are actually encountering is something much simpler, a self that belongs to itself, and that is the beginning of fear. 2. They fear being seen without being able to control the perception. This is where the Jungian twist gets sharper. Narcissists work hard to manage perception. That is not always dramatic. Sometimes it's polished, sometimes intelligent, sometimes spiritual, sometimes wounded, sometimes charming, sometimes hyper-helpful. But all of it revolves around one thing: controlling what others are allowed to see. That's the persona at work, the social face designed for acceptance, admiration, leverage, or safety. Now imagine what happens when they meet someone strong, not just smart, not just assertive, strong, meaning someone who notices contradiction, someone who feels the gap between words and energy, someone who catches the weird tone behind the compliment, someone who senses the performance beneath the kindness, someone who does not worship appearances. That kind of person is profoundly threatening. Because now the narcissist is no longer just being looked at, they are being read. And worse, read by someone they may not be able to manipulate fast enough. That is why narcissists often become intensely uncomfortable around perceptive, calm people. Not because those people are attacking them, but because their perception is not easily steerable. The narcissist can handle naive admiration. They can handle visible hostility. They can even handle open conflict. What they hate is quiet recognition, the kind that doesn't argue, doesn't perform, doesn't chase, just notices. Because once they suspect you can see through the persona, they lose one of their deepest forms of safety, the illusion that the mask is still working, and when the mask starts failing, the shadow starts leaking. 3. They fear people who do not need their version of reality. One of the strongest things about a truly strong person is not how aggressively they speak. It's how little they need the other person's story in order to know what is real. That's huge, because narcissists survive by creating interpretive fog. They need you second-guessing yourself. They need you wondering whether you were too sensitive, too harsh, too reactive, too selfish, too needy, too suspicious. Why? Because once your own perception becomes unstable, they can step in and organize reality for you. That is one of their favorite territories, the space between what happened and what you're allowed to call it. A strong individual threatens that immediately, not because they know everything, but because they trust their own nervous system enough to pause. They notice the mismatch. They hold on to the feeling. They don't rush to explain away the discomfort just because the other person sounds convincing. That alone makes narcissists deeply uneasy, because if you do not need them to define what happened, their power drops fast. They can still talk, still spin, still justify, still reverse blame. But something changes the moment they realize you are no longer borrowing your reality from them. That is what strong people do. They listen, but do not hand over authorship. They care, but do not surrender interpretation. They can sit in uncertainty without instantly accepting the narcissist's version just to end the tension. And nothing frustrates a narcissist more than a person who cannot be gaslit into abandoning what they quietly know. That is a special kind of fear for them, because it means the fog is no longer enough. 4. They fear the person who has integrated their own shadow enough to stop being easy to hook. Let's go deeper. Jung's idea of the shadow matters here more than people realize. The shadow is everything the conscious ego does not want to identify with: shame, rage, dependency, weakness, hunger, envy, fear, but also buried power, clarity, and instinct. Now here's why this matters in narcissistic dynamics. Narcissists prey most easily on people who are estranged from parts of themselves. People who cannot admit anger, cannot admit no, cannot admit exhaustion, cannot admit resentment, cannot admit their right to leave, cannot admit their perception when it conflicts with being good. Those people are easier to hook, because if you disown your anger, they can provoke it and then shame you for it. If you disown your instincts, they can override them. If you disown your limits, they can consume you. But strong individuals often carry at least some shadow integration. Not perfectly, not like saints, but enough. Enough to know, I can be kind and still say no. I can feel anger without becoming abusive. I can disappoint someone and still remain intact. I can be misunderstood and survive. I can sense danger without needing everyone else to confirm it. That kind of person is harder to control because they are less divided inside. They are not spending all their energy trying to maintain innocence at the cost of reality. And narcissists are deeply threatened by anyone who can feel the pull of guilt, pity, seduction, confusion, or intimidation, and still not betray themselves. because that means the old hooks don't sink as deep. And once the hooks stop working, the narcissist often becomes more agitated, more punishing, or more dramatic. Not because you hurt them, because you removed a route of entry they expected to find. 5. They fear emotional self-sufficiency more than open defiance. Most people think narcissists fear confrontation. Sometimes they do, but what they fear more is emotional self-sufficiency. Because confrontation still gives them contact, still gives them a role, still gives them emotional heat, still tells them they can move you. A strong person who is emotionally self-sufficient is much scarier. This is the person who can grieve and still leave, miss you and still keep boundaries, feel the pull and still not return, be disappointed and still not chase clarity from someone committed to distortion. That kind of strength is devastating to a narcissist. Why? Because narcissistic control depends on you needing something from them. Closure, validation, understanding, reassurance, an apology, a better version of the story, proof that you mattered. But when a person becomes strong enough to process their own experience without begging the narcissist to redeem it, the control loop breaks. Now the narcissist is dealing with someone who can emotionally metabolize the relationship without requiring the narcissist's cooperation. That is almost unbearable for them, because now they are no longer central. And nothing wounds narcissistic structure more than loss of centrality. They may still insult you, mock you, hoover you, test you, perform indifference. But underneath it all is one terrifying realization. You may no longer need them to complete the emotional story. And that is what strong individuals do. They stop requiring truth from liars, stop requiring empathy from manipulators, stop requiring closure from distortion, stop requiring rescue from the one who caused the wound. That is not coldness. That is self-possession. And narcissists fear it deeply. 6. They fear people who cannot be made to feel small enough to stay. Here is another thing narcissists fear about strong individuals. They cannot easily be reduced back into compliance. A narcissist often works by shrinking you psychologically, not always through yelling, often through subtler methods, a tone that makes you question yourself, a story that makes you seem unstable, a comparison that lowers your worth, a criticism disguised as wisdom, a withdrawal that makes you feel desperate to restore connection. The goal is simple: make you feel small enough to negotiate against your own interests. But strong individuals are dangerous because they don't stay small for long. They may feel hurt, they may feel grief, they may feel confusion, but eventually something in them returns. Their center, their perspective, their pattern recognition, their sense of proportion. And once that comes back, the narcissist starts losing altitude. Because now the little tricks don't land the same way. The strong individual stops chasing after every withdrawal, stops explaining every accusation, stops collapsing at every distortion, stops accepting every invitation to self-betrayal. That's when the narcissist begins to panic in subtler ways. They may intensify, triangulate, smear, love bomb again, or suddenly play the victim. Why? Because the old formula is failing. The person is no longer shrinking on cue. And to a narcissist, a person who cannot be made small enough to stay attached is one of the most dangerous people alive, because now the relationship must exist without domination. And many narcissists do not know how to bond without domination somewhere in the structure. So what do they fear? They fear the person who can see the game and not crawl back into it. 7. What they fear most is the end of their invisible authority. This is the deepest layer. What narcissists fear most about strong individuals is not merely exposure, not merely boundaries, not merely no contact, not merely independence. What they fear most is the collapse of their invisible authority over your inner life. That authority is everything. It's the feeling that they still matter enough to distort your peace, still matter enough to make you doubt yourself, still matter enough to enter your sleep, your thoughts, your body, your choices, still matter enough to rewrite your emotional weather. A narcissist can survive being disliked. They can survive being criticized. Sometimes they can even survive being left. What they struggle to survive psychologically is this: becoming irrelevant to the inner world they once ruled. That is why a strong person is so frightening, because strong people eventually do something narcissists cannot tolerate. They relocate authority inward. They stop asking, "How will this person respond?" and start asking, "What is true for me?" They stop organizing their nervous system around the narcissist's moods. They stop measuring safety by the narcissist's approval. They stop outsourcing self-trust. And when that happens, something enormous dies: the narcissist's throne in your psyche. That is the real terror. Not your anger, not your words, not your threats, your freedom from their internal reign. And once that freedom becomes real, the narcissist often reveals themselves more clearly than ever, because they can feel the authority slipping. And people who live through domination rarely surrender power gracefully. So what do narcissists fear most about strong individuals? Not loud people, not dramatic people, not necessarily powerful people in the public sense. They fear people who are inwardly unavailable for possession, people who can be kind without becoming controllable, people who can see without announcing it, people who can feel pressure without submitting to it, people who can grieve without crawling back, people who can hold their own reality without needing permission. Through a Jungian lens, narcissistic fear becomes easier to understand. The persona wants admiration. The shadow hides shame, weakness, emptiness, dependency, and rage. And a strong individual threatens both at once. They threaten the persona because they may see through it. They threaten the shadow because they awaken what has been buried. They threaten control because they refuse internal colonization. That is why the narcissist's reaction can seem bigger than the moment, because they are not only reacting to what you did, they are reacting to what your strength makes impossible. And maybe that's the part I want to leave you with. Sometimes people do not fear you because you are cruel. They fear you because you are becoming difficult to invade. That's different. And if you've been punished, tested, guilted, or distorted by someone the stronger you became, don't rush to ask what's wrong with you. Ask a better question. What invisible authority were they losing as I got stronger? That question changes everything. And before you go, here's the question again for the comments. What was the first sign that told you a narcissistic person was becoming threatened by your strength? Not your anger, but your calm, your boundaries, your self-trust, or your detachment. If this hit home, comment, "They feared losing access more than losing me." Because for a lot of people that one sentence explains years of confusion.